Helldivers is again diving into the game files and chasing down those pesky bugs, as they've just released a medium-sized bug swatter aimed at some of the more current issues. Welcome to the channel. This is LtBuzzLitebeer, and we've got yet another hotfix. And there are some of the more current and annoying issues listed out here. It also looks like Arrowhead is getting ready to ramp up their pledge for developer streams and vlogs, including a call to arms from the community. We've also got a statement on those stealth changes from the Buff Diver update, and a whole lot more. As always, thank you so much for your continued support. In case you're new here, consider hitting subscribe. It's free and it really helps the channel get noticed to the far corners of YouTube. And don't forget to ring that notifications bell so you never miss one of my future upload notifications. And here's all the latest and greatest from our favorite managed democracy liberty drinking shooter, Helldivers. Normally, I would kick off my Helldivers coverage with a recap of the current Superstore offerings and the Galactic update, of course, taking into consideration the major order, but we're going to skip by both of those today because we just got a brand new hotfix and a lot more for Helldivers. Hotfix 1.001.002 went live earlier today for us divers, and I've already downloaded it on PC, and I can tell you it's about 56 megs in size. It went by in the blink of an eye, so it's super easy to get downloaded and installed into the game. First things first, I'm going to skip through the crash fix section, which is listed out at the top of these patch notes. There's 8 of these, things like a rare crash caused by weapon reloads, another rare crash when opening chat on a mission, because I instead want to focus the bulk of my time here with these patch notes on the miscellaneous fixes, because there's some biggies listed out here. Now, as always, I will include a link to the full patch notes down in the video description and, of course, the pinned comments, and I highly encourage you to take just a few minutes of your time and check these out for yourselves. There may be a specific rare crash fix or maybe a bug that's been plaguing your gameplay sessions that's listed out here that I'm not going to cover in today's review. So definitely take just a few minutes, check these out for yourselves. Now, here on the LtBuzzLitebeer channel, we only use the most expensive editing techniques, and I've gone in and pre-highlighted some of the more pressing matters that I wanted to touch on in this miscellaneous fixes section. Starting off with the SH-32 Shield Gen Pack, now properly transferring knockbacks to the wielder. We saw this issue ever since the Buff Diver update went live. Of course, you players figured it out as well. If you were rocking the Shield Gen Pack versus the bugs, anything short of a Bile Titan puking on you or maybe a Charger just running straight over you, anything else could not kill you. It could not get the melees through your Shield Gen Pack. Well, that has apparently now been fixed. They also fixed a bug where Helldivers' arms would glitch out, and I've seen this before, when quickly picking up the same weapon type twice, and it just became this weird looking thing where your weapon was way off to the side, but you could still shoot. They also fixed the Expert Exterminator title being incorrectly available to some players. Ever since the new War Bond went live, you could basically just grab this Expert Exterminator, tag it onto your player card, even though you had not unlocked it in the War Bond. Moving on, and here's one for you bot divers. Scout Walkers will now receive the gas confuse effect when damaged by gas. They will also properly take damage on their health zones when receiving damage from flamethrowing or gas weapons. Here's one for PS5 players. It says, resolved an issue where PS5 players became unjoinable after their console returned from rest mode. Man, we have had friends list and joining issues and squad up issues ever since Helldivers went live. If there's ever one thing I wish we could just snap our fingers and make go away, it would probably be that. They also fixed a host migration issue for stratagem objectives that prevented their completion. Man, we've seen that one quite a bit. Somebody leaves the party, all of a sudden you can't interact with terminals, you can't call in the strats that are necessary to complete the objectives, and then you basically just have to dashboard the mission and start over. Next up is a major one. They fixed a bug in the evacuate high value assets missions where enemies would stop spawning, so you could not complete these missions for a period of time when the host leaves. And I believe this is specific to the bots, so that's good news for that mission type. All automaton Hulk types will now prioritize the player over the power gens in those same evacuate high value assets missions. There's still some issues there with things spawning up on rock formations, and definitely a few kinks that need to be worked out. And finally, kind of a comedic one down here, General Brash was promoted to Super 10-star General after the latest personal shield generator confusion. And if you don't know what that was about, they said that the power gens that were basically blocking all of the bug melee effects were limited to 10-star generals. That was rank 130, of which I commented, hey, I'm rank 130. Why don't I get one of those super god mode shield gen packs? Well, now they've amended that. General Brash has now been promoted up to super 10-star general. And of course, the joke behind this was that those god mode shield gen packs were out of General Brash's personal stash. It looks like the Arrowhead comms and dev teams are trying to make good on those upcoming promises of more community-related stuff, such as vlogs and live streams. And this came to us via a Twinbeard post just now over in the Helldivers official Discord. Here's what it says. As some of you might know, we're planning on doing more audio-visual content, such as vlogs, various streams, interviews, etc. going forward. We're currently in test phase mode for some of this. You would have thought they would have been further along than test phase mode by now, but anyways, I digress and would love some assistance. Therefore, please write whatever questions you might have for Helldivers 2 in the snazzy form shared here. Haven't heard snazzy in a while. Questions can be for Arrowhead in general as well, but preferably diver-related stuff. I can't guarantee this will be replied to in public, but I hope so. Just like with the patch notes, I will of course include a link to this Google Docs form asking for community questions. Notice I said questions, and you can find it down in the video description and the pinned comments. Now, there are a few edits and time frames you need to understand here. First off, the edit was they initially asked for questions and suggestions. Nix the suggestions. They're not asking for that. That's not this kind of form. They're just asking for questions. I would assume so they could pass along to the developers so they could answer those live on stream or maybe pre-recorded on a vlog. The second item to know is that Twinbeard and the comms teams are going to stop pulling items from this question form on Thursday. That's this coming Thursday, the 26th at 4 p.m. CET. That's 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 10 a.m. my time, East Coast. But wait, because Twinbeard is not done yet. No, he's back with a double shot of announcements this morning, and this one's pretty heavy hitting. So whatever you're doing, divers, pay attention to this because this relates to those unlisted Buff Diver patch notes and the changes that were installed into the game. Here's how he says it. As you know, there were a lot of changes in this patch that I can't agree with. That means that the risk of some hits and misses will inevitably increase. Some of these are things we failed to mention in the patch notes. Some are intentional, some are poorly explained, and one or two things were changed unintentionally. Also, remember that all things in the game are subject to change and never set in stone. There's a disclaimer there. As always, holler back with your thoughts on these. All feedback is greatly appreciated. Here are the changes. The first one of these relates to the HMG, or the heavy machine gun. And I know that a lot of you that main this weapon, you logged in after the Buff Diver update, and you were noticing, for instance, it just wasn't tapping that ass, as in the Charger's butts, with as much authority. And this had to do with the angle and durable damage nerf from 50 down to 35. So you lost a whopping 15 on the durable damage. Twinbeard says this one was intentional, but wasn't in the patch notes. Now, I know there was some speculation that maybe it was unintentional as part of the Buff Diver update. Well, here's confirmed. They intended that to happen. How about the mighty railgun changes, not only taking it back to OG status, but exceeding that levels? Well, it says the AP, or armor pen bonus, has been removed from overcharging. It no longer climbs to AP 7 at 90% charge. Twinbeard says This was intentional, and if so, we forgot to add it to the patch notes. The reasoning behind this was to not make the railgun too good versus tanks and factory striders. However, armor on tank fronts getting changed didn't jam with that change. We still didn't want the railgun to bounce off front armor, so maybe we need to take a look at this. So there's the explanations for the railgun AP changes. It was intentional. They just forgot to add it to the patch notes. Next up are the changes to the AT mines, and we had learned about these already, but here it says damage reduced from 1,000 down to 800, explosion radius increased, stagger force increased from 30 up to 50, demo force also increased from 30 up to 40. Again, this was intended but was missing in the patch notes. How about the laser cannon? Yeah, it does not cool down faster despite what is stated in the patch notes. Twinbeard says this was something we were doing at first, but later removed and simply missed addressing in the patch notes. Very interesting. So the laser cannon's listed out here, but what about the other laser weapons like the scythe? I wonder, are those also seeing this? Let me know down in the comments section because I have not used it at all, but is it affecting the primary and secondary laser weapons, and it's just the laser cannon that's been excluded? Again, leave me a comment, let me know. And the final change in this first section of the stealth changes announcement has to do with the guard dog rover, and I'm an OG guard dog rover rocker. I love this thing, and I've definitely noticed that it sets targets on fire faster. They say also intended, and it's also intended that it catches you and other divers on fire faster. So definitely hit the ground and pop those stems. But that's the first section. Now let's hop over to the second section. Next up, we're talking fire damage, and specifically fire dot or damage over time damage. Durable damage was increased by double from 25 up to 50. Check this out if you like to rock those certain shotgun weapons. Yup, you guessed it, intentional as well and missing from the patch notes. We will look at this to see if this should be kept as is or not. Here's the section you're going to love to hear. It did make the incendiary breaker and cookout better as well. So that dot damage, durable damage doubling also affected those two popular Incen shotguns, which as we know are two appreciated weapons. Also, Hellpod impact damage increase from 200 up to 2,500 doesn't affect the firebomb Hellpods. This is intentional and a part of the damage scaling that we mentioned in the patch notes. We didn't convey this very clearly, but because we increased heavy enemies' health, we need to increase the Hellpod damage so it would still be able to kill them. For the fire Hellpod, we missed increasing the damage of that one. I'm definitely looking forward to some community feedback on these unlisted, intentional, unintentional changes. Have they negatively or positively affected your favorite weapons or strats in the game? Let me know, drop a comment, because it's now time for your top 3 comments from my last Helldivers video. And as always, if you want to see your name and comment up in lights in my next top 3 breakdown, you first need to let it fly on this video. That's right, you got to take just a few seconds to drop me a comment, and who knows, it might get upvoted enough so that it makes it into my next top 3. Kicking it off in the number 1 spot is Ultimate T728, who says, "Holy, it just keeps getting better. We just need the Illuminate and it'll be peak." And I'm in total agreement with you, Ultimate T. And by the way, there's nothing I can add to your comment here, and congrats on making it into the 1 spot. Following that up in the number 2 spot, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, is Arden Brayhart 3278, who says, "Can't be attacked by a target lying dead on the ground. Let me tell you about my good pal Dead Bile Titan Kick or Shrieker Dive Bomb." And yeah, I do understand this comment, but those are some of the things that make this game so damn interesting, is when you get slapped by that Bile Titan leg, or maybe that Shrieker comes to pieces out of the air and part of it just slaps into you. Same thing if you drop a bot ship down on top of you. Those are just some of those only in Helldiver moments that I think we all love and appreciate. And finally, bringing up the caboose for this countdown is Austin Hess 4967, who says, also, I hope they add more, quote, in-game lore events. Stuff like foreshadowing new weapons, vehicles, etc., like they have kind of done in the past, which, yes, I agree with all that. It adds so much immersion, and I love that. By the way, congrats, Austin Hess, on taking the number 3 spot. And yes, total agreement with you across the board. I love those shadow drop moments when you're out on the battlefield and some enemy type that you've never seen just comes hustling through your point of view and you're like, what the hell is that? And then you kind of take to Twitter and then there's Johan saying, oh, absolutely, that is fake news. That would never happen in the game. But of course it did happen in the game. So yeah, I definitely want to see that as well. And I just had to add this one in at the last minute. This is over on the Helldivers Reddit. It says Soldiers of Earth by Michael Howe. It says crossover comic. And you've got the Ultramarine screaming for the Emperor. And then you've got the Helldiver for democracy. And then the third slide is they both got to turn and look at each other like, huh? And then they're like, yeah. And I love this. I'm currently rocking both of these games. Of course, you know I play Helldivers, and I've also been playing a lot of Space Marine 2. I've been adding it into the channel rotation. That's just an awesome crossover event right there. Hell yeah. Sadly, that's all we've got time for today. I look forward to a ton of community feedback. And remember, if you drop a comment, it just might make it into the next top 3. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring that notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. All my socials, including all of today's sources, can be found down in the video description. Shout out, we're nearly there to the 245,000 of you legends from across the planet who've taken the plunge, you've hit subscribe, and you tune in to support me and the channel on the daily. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.